Welcome to Small Business Saturday.
Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. How's everybody doing today? Excited for another week of Small Business Saturdays. Great stuff continue to happen. I love sharing these topics. I love getting into this. And if you're catching the podcast version, it's not this time of year, but those of you catching the live version here, it is the Halloween season. Halloween's tomorrow here in the United States. And so I felt like talking about fear or instinct was a great topic to cover. And that's what we want to talk about today. Fear, instinct, fear or intuition, maybe might be another name that people would call it. These are very important distinctions for small business owners to make between the difference between the two, between fear and instinct. So what might seem like fear could actually be an opportunity, and our internal signals are just being misinterpreted when it's really just an opportunity of a challenge or a challenge that we are facing. So that's what we want to talk about here today. And Chuck, good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. Excited to have you along this morning. So let's dive into this in just one moment. I'll get back to it. Before we do that, I just did want to let you guys know that November 20th is the next opportunity for the Unlock Your Potential workshop. And if you'll go over to oursuccessgroup.com/unlock, you can check that out and learn more about what that is. If you have questions about it, please let myself, or if you'd rather talk to my wife, Kylene, she is co-hosting that with me. So we are excited about doing that. We've got them scheduled for every month, so that way there's a different day or time that may or may not work for you. So hopefully you can find something that works for you. So check that out. Also, make sure that you head over to oursuccessgroup.com/blocks and put your information in there. It will follow up with you and give you some more information about that Unlocking Your Potential workshop. But this will also get you a copy of our free affirmations guide. So great place to start with building that self-confidence. And we're going to actually talk about that quite a bit today in our conversation here today. So check those things out. Good morning, Kylene. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome. And also just a quick note for everybody that if you're hearing some stuff in the background, we do have a sleepover that happened last night, and the boys are right up there having a great time. So I'll try to speak up just in case they have some loud crashes or bangs. They're having a blast up there, and I don't want to inhibit that. All right. Well, let's get into this here, guys. So as we talked about, these distinctions between fear or instinct are really important for small business owners. Again, what might seem like fear actually is an opportunity that our internal signals might be misinterpreting. And what we think is a fear is probably an opportunity or a challenge that we have to face. Eleanor Roosevelt said this, you must do the things you think you cannot do. So if you're standing there with your toes on the edge of the diving board, so to speak, and you're ready to jump, but just can't do it, today is for you. Are you hesitating to maybe launch a new product or quit your day job or reach out to that new opportunity or anything like that? This is for you. I want to discuss how we can tell the difference between fear and just our instincts helping us focus so we do the best possible. All right. Now, like all decisions, we need to make sure we are taking the decision-making power away from that subconscious, the lizard, monkey brain, whatever you want to call it, that knee-jerk reaction. That can't be our decider. That cannot be our decision-making function mechanism inside of us. And really, we want to make sure that part of our brain stays where it needs to be. That part of our brain is just a guide or a counselor. And so we need to move that particular entity, that subconscious brain, away from the decision-making process. They don't need to have their hand on the button. They need to be standing over there saying, hey, I remember this, look for this, let's just pay attention here, to be that guide or that counselor. And our conscious brain, our mindfulness, our intentions need to be the things that are making decisions for us, and once we do that, once we move away from that and we move into our conscious brain, then we have the possibility here to interpret the signals between fear and instinct, and better understand what that means. Now, what I want to do is I want to walk you through a process to interpret these signals. And while we're going to spend a little bit of time discussing this process, and it might seem like, wow, that's a lot. What I want you to realize is that once you start reframing your fears and your instincts into this way, this actually won't take much time at all. In fact, it will become kind of second nature to you. And you can actually train yourself to work through these steps so quickly that other people might think that you're still making those instant knee jerk on the fly decisions. So, with that being said, let's get into the first step here. And the first thing that we've got to do is we have to categorize the feelings that we're getting, those fear or intuition feelings that pop up inside of us as we're faced with a decision or a major hurdle, or just whatever's in front of you, right? The things that are kind of holding you back. And when we start to have those feelings inside of us, we need to categorize them into one of two categories. The first category would be contraction, kind of like, balling up, that feeling of that pit of your stomach, kind of, in extreme cases, it definitely looks like somebody just curled up in the fetal position because they're so scared. And that would be one category. The second category is, does that feeling actually feel a little bit more like expansion? Oh, okay, yeah, this is, I feel like I'm expanding, right? And again, we don't, if we're just using our subconscious brain, both of those things kind of feel the same. It's a muscles open, or muscles open or muscles closed, right? It's both those feelings are pretty darn close to each other. And so if we're just using that monkey brain, we can't tell the difference. But when we actually move into our conscious brain, we can categorize those feelings. When something is really scaring you, you're going to emotionally and physically feel that balled up, like we talked about, you're contracting. Now, when it's instead that instinct or intuition actually just telling us to be sharp and focus because this is a great opportunity, you're going to emotionally and physically feel that sense of expansion, that openness, that receptiveness. And if that's the feeling, if it's that feeling of openness or receptiveness, or that expansion, then you can immediately say, okay, we know the difference right now. The process is done, over, finito. And you can immediately, puff your chest up and out, and lift your head up high, and go after it, go do it, and put all that other stuff to the side and just move forward. Now, if that feeling of fear is still showing up for you, maybe that balled upness a little bit, you're just not real sure still. The next thing I want you to do is just kind of remember that fear is just an acronym. And for those of you that haven't heard this before, fear is an acronym for fantasized experience appearing real. And I'm not going to get real deep into this whole process, because you can actually go back to our May 1st podcast. It's an episode that's called Conquer Fear and Live to Tell About It. In fact, if you'd like to go directly to it here, it's osg.link/fear SBS. Or you can just go over to smallbusinesssaturdayspodcast.com and look back at all of those past episodes. But so if you want to get more into fear, that's the place to do it. We dive real deep into that. We have great techniques to conquer our fears and then live to tell about it. In fact, it really is another great process that you can add into it. But as we talked about last week, when we look at fear, what we want to understand is fear guiding us to imagine and something that is a worst possible case scenario, right? What's that outcome? Fear really is just a belief that the worst is going to happen. I'm on this plane and it's going to crash. I'm walking by this snake and it's going to bite me. I'm standing on the edge of this building and I'm going to fall off. That's where the fear comes from. It's that belief of what the worst possible outcome is. But if you can, again, move from our subconscious to our conscious side of feelings of this, then Can I think the opposite? Can I come up with, launch the new product? The fear is that it's going to fail miserably and people are going to laugh at you and my business is going to die. But what if you said, "Hey, I launched the new product, people love it, my business grows, I move on to buy the island that I want," whatever it is, what's that best possible outcome? So if you have that feeling and it still feels like fear, then go back to the root cause of it, see what it is, that belief is, that what that worst possible outcome that you're coming up with, and then go with the opposite and just feel that opposite feeling, and then go back and go, okay, am I still contracting, or now am I starting to feel that expansion because I'm thinking about the best possible outcome, right? And so that's the next step in the process. See, the feelings of fear or instinct can both be easily misinterpreted as really they're both yellow alerts. It's that pause to either look out for real danger, or it's a pause to focus on something important to you. Now, those of us with more self-confidence and experience with self-confidence will have more the latter, that ability to focus on something more important to you. And honestly, in today's modern world, for most of us, there are very few real dangerous situations that we find ourselves in. I can't think of the last time that, I mean, I've been racking my brain all morning. I cannot really remember the last time that I was in a situation where my life was really, really, truly in danger. There's been some scary moments and like car situations and things like that, but I can't say that I was ever like near death experience of anything that I can remember. But and I know those things happen. So I'm not saying that those things don't happen. I'm not saying there aren't still real dangers in the world, but most of the time, the fears that we have are associated with just fears of things that are not physical dangers to us. And that's okay too. It's okay to be afraid of situations and emotions and feelings and whatnot. But you only gain self-confidence by surviving a risk. So if you've not taken a lot of actions, you've not pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone, eh, then you probably don't have a lot of self-confidence. But the great news is all we have to do is survive a risk and we start building self-confidence. We can build self-confidence really quickly if we can push ourselves to do a little bit more. And so we don't want to automatically jump to these yellow alerts being real dangers. And again, more often than not, it's your intuition telling you either something is off, right? Maybe I shouldn't be working with this customer. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that job. Those kinds of things. Maybe I need to change my policies, or that something important is ahead. And so you really need to pay attention, get sharp, and make sure you've got all of the the planning done, your ducks in a row, and that you're ready to put your best foot forward. Again, it's not about being who you're not. It's about being prepared and putting your best self forward. And so using those yellow alerts to kind of go, okay, yep, this is a note, internal notice that, yep, I need to step back. I need to take some time. I need to figure out some way to carve out the time to make sure that I've got a good plan for going into this meeting or doing this presentation or making this video or whatever it is that is causing that yellow alert to come up for you. So those feelings or instincts, again, are being misinterpreted. So the last step to take in the process is to just take one small step. That old Chinese proverb that says a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And with that idea, what is the very minimum action that you can take to move you closer to understanding this fear instinct? When we take that small bite, that thing that we can swallow, your feelings might start to change. It might start to go from this contracting into this expansion and this feeling of growth and abundance versus contraction and scarcity and poverty and all of those things. So again, these feelings that we feel are just little guideposts, little counselors, little people talking to us over there. But what happens for most of us is we let this little person do all of the decision making, do the actual talking for us. And we just have to stop doing that. So that contracting feeling will start to change once you keep taking those smaller steps. And honestly, if you keep taking those smaller steps, you might just wind up with a whole new feeling altogether. Once you kind of take a few more steps ahead, you might not have either this gut instinct or fear gnawing at you. The new feeling could be excitement, pride in the success you just had, confidence in what you're doing with yourself and your business, right? Those are the feelings that we want, right? That's success. So um, ultimately, we've got to realize that 99% of the time, we're not in physical danger. And maybe depending on your situation, that percentage is wrong. I know for me, I can easily say 99% of my life, I've not been in physical danger. So, what we need to do is do what we can to push yourself forward and learn to listen to the instinct side and the intuition side. Your gut will tell you if the job is not right to take. Your gut will tell you the customer is one you should fire or that partnership is one you should walk away from. Once you start building that self-confidence and building that trust in yourself, then it becomes intuition and not just fear that's controlling you. And then you can start to listen to those intuitions. You can start looking for those yes answers. And when you're looking for those yes answers, you'll be able to again make those quick decisions by following the steps that we're talking about here. But it can only tell you, those instincts can only tell you that opportunity, give you that information if you stop letting fear overshadow it. So I want to hear what you guys think about this topic. Where are you letting fear run the show when you should instead be listening to more intense or intentions, instincts, those types of things? And as you guys are doing that, let me check a comment that we've got here. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So I want to hear about that. But the other thing I want to just mention before I close, and that's what I've got for you today. I really wanted to kind of be short and to the point because, again, I don't want this to be a big process that, you've got like, oh my God, it's just one more thing I have to do and take on. Aaron, you've always got so many things for us to do. Well, that's not the case. Once you start building these processes, I look at everything in business as a um, as a as a flywheel. And if you're not familiar with a flywheel, basically a flywheel is something that at first you start pushing it around and you start moving it, and it takes a pretty large amount of force, effort, energy, right, to get it moving. But because it's so big and large and is built in such a efficient manner, that the more you start pushing it, the more it starts moving on its own. And the more you keep pushing that flywheel around, the more that flywheel is easier to push. And in fact, you'll get to a point where that flywheel is turning on what feels like its own. Yes, you may need to pump a little bit into it every once in a while just to keep it going, because it's not actually creating its own energy, but it has so much. So once you put that initial effort into it, it'll just go on its own. And that's what we're talking about. And a lot of the things, in fact, all the things that we talk about on Small Business Saturday, these are just processes, ideas, thoughts that we need to implement into our lives, into our business, that we can then start to, again, at first, it might seem like a lot. But once we just, again, go back to that, where do you take that journey of 1,000 miles is begin with that single step. Once you start taking that first step, the steps will begin to get easier and easier and easier until it just becomes, until it becomes your second nature. And what's happening right now is your second nature, your reactions are things that you didn't intentionally install in yourself. They were things that were installing you over time from society, from your parents. Again, not negative things. All these people were trying to protect you and help you and support you. But a lot of things may have happened along the way that caused you to say, hey, I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. I can't do this. This is my comfort zone. And you've built this nice little tight bubble comfort zone that feels really great. The problem with that little tight, nice comfort zone is that is your whole world. And so if you want to do anything, if you want to build a business, if you want to expand your relationships, if you want to find something outside of just what is immediately inside the comfort zone, guess what? You got to go outside of it. So that's where these things come into play, where those things that were kind of installed in us in our past, in our childhood, or even through experiences we've had as younger adults, um, that those experiences have created this belief in you that puts you inside this nice little tight comfort zone. And I think ultimate success for everybody, regardless of whether you're a business owner or whatever you're doing in your life, ultimate success is having this nice big comfort zone where there's lots of diverse opportunities inside of it, and it's just a lot more open, right? The universe is always constantly trying to expand, and therefore we want to be expanding in in our comfort zone, not necessarily how sometimes I expand down here, but that's a whole different story. So anyhow, that's kind of why, again, I want to give you these bite-sized nuggets, but when we talk about them, sometimes it takes a little bit longer because, as you see, I can take a short story and make it really long. But I also want you to realize that, yes, I just need to do these little steps. I just need to install this one thing. I just need to stop and move from subconscious to conscious. So let me share a thought that Kylene has here. This is awesome. She says, I think once I realized that I had to survive a risk to build confidence, I had an entire new outlook on working on my goals. Each risk isn't always huge. Sometimes it's really small, but moving through the process allows me to learn and grow to continue. I cannot agree more, Kylie. And that same realization for me was something that happened, and a huge growth builder for me. And looking at Kylie and her situation, she has survived these risks. She does a weekly video series like this every Thursday called Thankful Thursdays. And I don't know how long ago it was, 6 months, 9 months ago. I mean, I couldn't get her to even walk behind the camera, right? And because she was terrified of it. Not saying that that's a bad thing, not, and if that's not her thing and that's not going to work for her, but she knew that to be able to do what she wanted to do, to be able to reach her goals, she had to expand her reach. She had to expand her tribe. She had to get out there and share who she is with more people than just the people that were inside of her little comfort zone. And so she's taken and she's grown and she's expanded. And I am incredibly proud of all the work that she's done. In fact, she's gone even so far that she's now even launched a yoga opportunity, a virtual online yoga opportunity called Rise and Shine Yoga. If you want to check that out, go to riseshine.yoga. I don't know if I have a banner for it or not, but I won't worry about that right now. So it's riseshine.yoga is the web address. And you go check that out. So again, going from less than a year, 6 months, 9 months ago, not being even able to show her face on a live video opportunity, to now hosting and providing an entire yoga session, 60 minutes every Thursday from here until the end of the year. That's huge. So Kylene, kudos to you. Nice job. Way to use this stuff and implement it into your life for success. I appreciate that. Now, if anybody else has any other things they'd love to share, I'm happy to talk about that. But if not, I will leave you with this. Again, for those of you catching the live version, you'll know that, and you're in the US, tomorrow is Halloween. And for those of you catching the podcast version, it's beyond that. But next time you are walking through that haunted house, or maybe enjoying the spooky decorations while you're taking the kids out trick-or-treating, just realize that just like Halloween, we actually need a dose of fear, because it's actually intuition. It's actually that yellow alert going off to keep us focused and alert, right? And so when we think about what we've talked about here today, the big process here is getting that changeover, getting that decision making process outside of our subconscious brain and into our conscious brain. It's not saying, hey, subconscious brain, you're an idiot, stop, leave me alone. No, we want to say, hey, thank you so much for the guidance. Thank you so much for the counseling. Thank you so much for the support. I understand that we've had this experience in the past, but as you know, Mr. or Mrs. Subconscious Brain, these are the goals that we want. And we know that if we want those goals, then we have to do this thing that seems a little bit scary right now. So, Mr. or Mrs. Subconscious Brain, please keep looking out for those yellow alerts for me, but know that I trust you when I make a decision to still move forward. Right. And that's the process that's got to go on inside of our brain. I know I just said that, but I mean, that can be an instantaneous thing. So when we change to that, when we start surviving risks, we are going to be able to better trust the difference between real danger, real fear, and just our instincts or our intuition telling us, hey, be prepared. Let's just, not dive right in head first. Let's go ahead and stick our toe in the water and check this out before, we crack our skull open diving into an empty swimming pool. All right. So that's what I had for you guys today. Short and sweet, and I love it. And hopefully you guys got a lot out of that. Let me know. Please feel free to keep the comments going or reach out, success@oursuccessgroup.com. And I will look forward to chatting with you all again next Saturday. We're going to talk about, in fact, I'll put it up on screen so you guys can all see it. We're going to talk about working hard, but not getting results. So that's next week. And then after that, we're going to talk about where to start, kind of getting back to basics. All right. So that's what's coming up on Small Business Saturday. Hopefully you guys are having a great start to your fourth quarter and everything is going well. Have a great Saturday, and I will talk to everybody again soon.